All right, what's going on, preppers? Welcome back to the channel. I got a really interesting email, and I've been getting more and more emails from you guys. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this one. We've been talking about prepping, economic prepping, been talking about the interest rates, Jerome Powell's attempting to bring down inflation with rising interest rates, or raising interest rates, I should say. And all we're seeing is that things are becoming more and more expensive for the everyday American, lower income American, middle income American. Everybody's paying more and more for everything. Now, obviously, gas prices have been heading down, so that's an exception. But for the most part, most things are more and more expensive. So I got an email, and based on the email, I could tell that it was from a man, from a guy. I'm not going to read his name. I'm actually not going to read the email. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on this one. So he is about 50 years old, and he's been watching the channel. He's been watching the Prepper channel, Economic Prepper. He watches other Prepper channels. He called them out in the email. And after watching the emails, or after watching the different channels, he said that he has a lot of anxiety. And he's anxious. He's concerned that his family is not prepared. And he was inspired by one of my previous videos. I'm not really sure which one it was, but he realized that he needed to do something about it. And it's keeping him up at night. And bottom line is, he's concerned. He's worried about the economy. He's not prepared. His family is not prepared. And he wanted to know what he can do to be able to have $1 million through, for his emergency fund, for his prep. $1 million, in his opinion, he feels that it would allow him and his family to feel very, very comfortable. Now, do you need $1 million? You may or may not. Depends on your age, depends on where you live, your lifestyle, number of different things. But he said that he wanted to make $1 million, or actually have $1 million. So he said, hey, he gave me a little bit of his background. How can I make $1 million in the next 10 years? Because him being 50 years old, he feels like maybe maybe he wants to retire in 10 years. Maybe he wants to at least know he's good within the next 10 years. But the point is he said to me, hey, I want to know, how can I put myself in a position? How do I prepare to have $1 million in the next 10 years? And basically, this is an email exchange that went back and forth. And I asked him a little bit about his background and a number of different things. Where do you, not where do you live? Like, don't give me your address. But I was asking him, like what part of the country do you live? Because, where you live can dictate some opportunities. But the point is I said to him, are you willing to work? Are you willing to work to make $1 million appear in your bank account, in your investment accounts? Are you willing to do what is required in terms of the preparation in order to have $1 million, so that you and your family can feel like you are comfortable and prepared? And he said he is. Now, given what he does for a living, I'm pretty sure he's no stranger to hard work. But the point was, I said to him, all right, well, we need to do some math. So we need to figure out how to break this elephant down into smaller, more manageable chunks so that we can digest it. So we started off by just kind of saying, okay, $1 million seems like a lot of money, and especially in the next 10 years to make it. So we need to break down, what do we need to do? We need to break down some daily actionable steps. But before we can do that, I told him, I said, hey man, we need to figure out, what does $1 million look like on a daily basis? How do you get there? So we took $1 million, and this is, you can have $1 million in your investment portfolio. You can easily liquidate stocks and sell them and convert that stock into $1 million. You can have $1 million in your savings account, which I personally really wouldn't want to do if that was all I had, just because of inflation. There's a number of different reasons why I wouldn't want to keep $1 million in a savings bank, which I would get into in a different video. I don't know how I missed that one. But so long and short of it, we took $1 million and we said, okay, how much is $1 million in 10 years, right? How much is $1 million per year? And then I broke it down even further for him. And I said, how much is $1 million in, per day, on a per day basis? So the math, if I remember correctly, broke down to roughly $273 a day, right? So I told him, I was like, hey, we need to come up with a way. We need to come up with a way to generate $275 per day, every single day for the next 10 years. So how do you generate an extra $273 a day? And so that kind of opened up a brand new conversation. But the thing is everyone has something to offer. Everyone has a skill. Everyone has a way to create value for someone else. And it takes some creativity, but it can be done. And by the end of our conversation, he felt so relieved because I gave him an action plan. I gave him an action plan on what he could potentially do to generate $1 million in the next 10 years. And he was fairly confident that he can execute. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from him. But the thing is this, that's also assuming you didn't even invest any of the money as you were accumulating it on your way to reaching $1 million, right? So, for example, as you're putting money away through your side hustle, through your part-time job, or whatever the case may be, you could have potentially put some of this money into a mutual fund. You could potentially put some of this cash into the stock market. You could potentially put some of this cash into real estate investments. You could take some of this cash and compound it with passive automated online businesses that you don't necessarily have to put more time into, but do take money to get started. So there's a number of different ways that we also discussed in how you could potentially cut that timeline down. So for example, if you're just putting away $273 a day and not saving it, it'll take you 10 years. But let's just say hypothetically, you're putting money away at a rate of $273 a day and you're putting it into the stock market. And let's just say hypothetically, the stock market gave you a, 10% rate of return. You could potentially hit your goal of $1 million way sooner than expected. Maybe you hit your goal of $1 million within the next, 7.5 years. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of fast, But the key is you need a strategy. It's all about preparation and being prepared. And I have a lot of confidence that this older gentleman, I don't want to say older gentleman, he's older than me, but I have a lot of confidence that he's going to hit the mark. And the thing is when you have to do something, I think you figure out how to make it happen. Like if your kid's life was on the line and you had to figure out how to make extra money, you would somehow figure out how to make extra money. You would create a side hustle. You would figure out some creative way to generate some form of additional income to, save your kid's life if your kid's life was on the line. And while I don't think that his kids' lives are on the line, I know that he wants to ensure that his family is safe, is prepared for whatever we may face in the future, and he's going to make it happen. So, I just wanted to share a little bit of this information with you guys. I'm going to leave my email in the description of this video down below. Like I always do, if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop me a comment, send me an email, and I look forward to hearing from you guys on the next video. Take care.